Patek just launched a new collection of watches called the Cubitus. This selection of 3 watches at the moment is supposed to sit alongside the Nautilus. 2 of them very much look like rebodied Nautilus, but the third one has a little bit more to it. In this video, I'll go over 3 things. First, the watches and their specifications. Second, are these watches actually desirable? Has the verdict on them changed? And third, why does this exist? Why did Patek release these watches? To start, the first watch is the reference 5821A. So this is a steel watch. It's got the green dial. It has the Nautilus bracelet, and it very much is a rebodied Nautilus. In terms of dimensions, the watch is 45 millimeters in width and 45 millimeters from lug to lug. It's a square. It's 8.3 millimeters thick, has that green last edition Nautilus dial and the Nautilus styled bracelet. Now the movement on this watch has one change compared to the now discontinued 5711s, and that's that it's got hacking seconds. So essentially, basically a Nautilus, but in a squared body with hacking seconds. The movement, as usual, is at 4 Hz, 28,800 beats per hour, that is, and water resistance remains at 30 meters, so basically a couple of drops of rain. Now the price of this watch is $41,000 US, and the price of the air in this room is $42,000 US. Both are things that nobody can buy. As soon as these watches hit the grey market, expect the values to double, and that's going to happen in about 8 seconds. Now the second watch, the Bell & Ross 5281 in two-tone. So this watch is basically the same thing, but two-tone variant with rose gold and a blue dial. This, however, costs $61,000 US, so 51% more because people don't know what gold is worth. The third watch, the 5822P, P for platinum, is my favorite of the bunch. Basically like a 5712, or so it seems on first glance. But the complication is different. This watch has a grand date complication instead of the power reserve that's found in the 5712. The watch itself only comes on a strap, and it's about 9.6 millimeters thick, so a little bit thicker than the 5821, but that's warranted because of the movement upgrades. Now, a key feature of platinum watches from Patek is a hidden diamond in the case, embedded in the case, and in this example, because the watch is square, this diamond is a baguette, which is a nice touch. Now, this is the only watch of the bunch that I actually think works, and that's mainly because of the strap. I think based on wrist shots, it sits decently well on the wrist, and it doesn't look out of place because of that Nautilus bracelet, which really doesn't go with these square shaped watches. I'm also a big fan of the 5712 and the complication, so that's why I like the style. So to the second part of the video, are these watches desirable and has the verdict on them changed? So initially at rumors and launch, everyone disliked these watches because they're basically rebodied Nautiluses and everyone likes the Nautilus. It seems like Patek ripping off its own Nautilus. So the common consensus was that, yeah, these are not up to par. Despite that, I think anyone offered one of these pieces, particularly the 5821 in steel, is most certainly going to buy it. I think after the first wave of negativity, when the watches actually come up for grabs, people will start singing a new tune of why this actually works and why this squared case is also nice. The reason why this would be an artificial response is because I think if Patek offered the 5711 in steel and this watch simultaneously in good numbers, no one would buy this piece. And that's why it shouldn't actually be desirable based on its design. It's just based on the hype factor. So this brings me on to why these watches exist. Why did Patek decide to sort of rebody their own Nautilus line and ship it as a new watch called the Cubitus? Now, Thierry Stern, the president and owner of Patek, has been quite vocal about the fact that the Nautilus has captured a little bit too much hype, a little bit too much attention, and it has sort of become the face of Patek. Now, that's not what Patek wants to be known for. What they're really good at is complicated watchmaking, and this is a basic three-hander watch that doesn't really show any of their capacity as a watchmaker. Hence, Patek decided to discontinue the three-hander version in steel and make it in gold as the 5811G. The 5712, however, is still available in steel, but available. I think Patek really wanted to avoid audience fatigue through the Nautilus, because when a watch becomes omnipresent for the brand, then it will soon lose relevance. And if that happens, it would drag Patek as a brand along with it, and that's quite catastrophic. So I think they want to distance themselves from the Nautilus line and really focus on the rest of their watches. And the only successful way to do that is to retire at the peak. So they've essentially shelved the Nautilus whilst it's been hyped and released this as a substitute. Because, okay, so to think of this as an analogy, there's a watch that you really want. Maybe it's out of your price bracket, or maybe you can't really get it. But that's the real deal, and that's the watch you want. But along the way, you buy other stuff to fill that void. But it's never the real deal, and it never actually substitutes the watch that you want. And that's the same case with this piece. You fill the void of the Nautilus by getting this piece, but your desire for the Nautilus remains. And that's how Patek gets to shelve the Nautilus line whilst having it desirable. And at the same time, you spend money along the way towards that. And making the Nautilus only in gold or precious metals, that allows them to really get a good margin on that watch and make very few pieces, which is a win-win.